You know, one of the most powerful things I've ever realized in my life is that when you get closer to Jesus, everything, and I mean everything, starts to make sense. The world doesn't magically become perfect, but your direction, your peace, your purpose, all of it becomes clearer. I'm not saying life gets easy. I'm saying you start to understand why you're here. You start to see how your dreams, your goals, and your passions were never random. They were planted inside you for a reason. And I want to tell you a few stories today, and maybe you'll see yourself in some of them. Because I know you've got dreams. Maybe you've been feeling stuck. Maybe you've been hustling nonstop and still feel like nothing's working. Or maybe deep down, you're scared that what you want most in life will never happen. But what if I told you, the moment you stop chasing things on your own and start walking with Jesus, everything begins to align? Let's start with this. There's a guy I used to know. Let's call him Ryan. He was talented, smart, had big dreams. He wanted to start his own business, make something of himself. But he was always anxious, always in his head, always comparing himself to other people on social media. Every day he'd wake up thinking about money, followers, success, and every night he'd go to bed wondering why it still wasn't enough. Then one day, he hit rock bottom. His business deal fell apart, his best friend ghosted him, and he said something like, "God, if you're real, just show me something." And here's what's wild. He didn't get a magical answer right away. But that same week, he started reading a few verses every morning. Just 10 minutes. No pressure, no huge expectations, just time with Jesus. And little by little, something inside him started changing. He wasn't as scared anymore. He didn't feel the same weight on his shoulders. It's like he started moving differently, not because his life got perfect overnight, but because he finally stopped walking alone. And 6 months later, his business idea came back to life. But this time, it wasn't about showing off. It was about service. He told me, when I started working with Jesus instead of just for myself, doors started opening that I didn't even know existed. That's the power of getting close to Jesus. You stop hustling blindly and start moving with purpose. And that's something a lot of people don't understand. We live in a world that tells you to grind harder, sleep less, push more, and never stop. But sometimes, the reason you're not moving forward isn't because you're lazy. It's because you're disconnected. You're trying to do God-sized things without God's guidance. When you draw closer to Jesus, you start to realize that success isn't about speed, it's about alignment. You could be running as fast as you can in the wrong direction. But when Jesus steps in, he redirects you. He teaches you patience, discipline, and wisdom. Suddenly, the doors that used to stay shut start opening, not because you forced them, but because you were ready. Let me tell you another story. This one's about a girl named Mia. Mia dreamed of becoming a singer. She had an amazing voice, but she struggled with fear. She'd post covers online, get a few likes, then delete them. She'd go to auditions and freeze up. One day she told me, "I just feel like I'm not good enough." And I said, "Who told you that?" Because that's not Jesus' voice. That's fear. So she decided to start doing something different. Every morning, before touching her phone, before checking Instagram, she'd say a short prayer. Something simple. "Jesus, help me use the gift you gave me." That's it. And it changed everything. Over the next few months, her confidence started to grow. Not because she suddenly became fearless, but because she started trusting that her talent had purpose. She wasn't singing for approval anymore. She was singing with faith. One day, a local church invited her to perform. From there, someone shared her video online, and it went viral. Now she travels around sharing her music and her testimony. But the best part? She says she's finally at peace. She's not chasing success, she's walking in her purpose. And that's what happens when you get closer to Jesus. He doesn't just change your circumstances, he changes you. He works on your heart, your mindset, your confidence, your habits. He starts breaking off the fear, the doubt, the pride, all the things that were holding you back without you even realizing it. Let's be real, we all have that moment when we feel lost. You might be watching this right now thinking, I'm trying so hard, but it's like nothing's working. Maybe you've prayed and didn't get the answer you wanted. Maybe you feel like God's ignoring you. But sometimes silence is not rejection, it's preparation. Jesus doesn't rush you because he's trying to build something through you. Think about it. If you got everything you wanted right now, would you be ready to handle it? Sometimes he's strengthening you for the very thing you're asking for. That delay isn't punishment, it's training. When I started taking my own faith seriously, it wasn't because I wanted to be religious. It was because I got tired of feeling like I was doing everything right and still feeling empty. I was chasing success, approval, comfort, and it never felt like enough. The moment I started giving my goals to Jesus, everything started to shift. I stopped trying to control every outcome. I started focusing on doing my best and trusting him with the rest. And I'm telling you that peace hits different. Because when you trust him, even when things don't go your way, you still know it's part of a bigger plan. One of my favorite lines ever is, faith doesn't make things easy, it makes them possible. That's the truth. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to walk with the one who already does. Now let's talk about dreams for a second. You have dreams for a reason. They're not random. Jesus placed them inside you on purpose. That passion you feel? That thing you can't stop thinking about? That's not just a hobby, that's a calling. But here's the catch. Sometimes we chase the dream without chasing the one who gave it to us. We get so focused on what we want that we forget why we want it. And that's where burnout happens. Because you're trying to build something eternal using temporary strength. When you walk with Jesus, you don't just get inspired, you get anchored. You stop giving up so easily. You start seeing challenges as lessons. You realize that failure isn't final, it's part of your story. Think about every person who's achieved something incredible while keeping faith at the center. They all have one thing in common. They didn't just pray for success, they prepared for it. They trusted Jesus to guide them through every no, every delay, every disappointment. Because every time something didn't work out, they learned something that shaped their character. So maybe right now things feel slow. Maybe it feels like God's forgotten about you. But he hasn't. He's working behind the scenes. He's preparing connections, opportunities, and lessons you can't even see yet. But he's also asking you to get closer, not because he needs your attention, but because you need his guidance. Let's be honest. When you get closer to Jesus, your definition of success changes. You stop measuring your worth by likes, money, or titles. You start caring more about peace, purpose, and impact. You start seeing that true success is waking up every day, knowing you're walking in alignment with your Creator. There's this one quote I love: when you align with God, everything else aligns with you. And it's true. Because when you're walking with Jesus, you don't have to force what's meant for you. It finds you. You start noticing little miracles. You meet the right people. You get ideas that just click. You take risks you were once afraid to take. And even when things go wrong, you don't panic, because deep down, you know he's got you. So if you're watching this right now feeling unsure about your future, I want you to do one thing tonight. Just talk to Jesus. Not in a fancy way. Just be real. Tell him your fears, your dreams, your goals. Say, Jesus, I want to walk with you. I want you in my plans. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to know every verse. You just need to show up with an open heart. Because the truth is, the closer you get to him, the more you start seeing yourself the way he sees you, capable, loved, chosen, and powerful. And when you start believing that, your dreams stop feeling impossible. They start feeling like promises waiting to unfold. So here's the message I want you to take away. Don't chase your dreams alone. Walk with Jesus and let him lead the way. You'll still face struggles, you'll still have setbacks, but you'll never be lost. Because even in the darkest moments, he'll be there, guiding, shaping, and reminding you that your story's not over. And maybe, just maybe, one day you'll look back and realize everything you went through was preparing you for what you were praying for. That's how he works. So keep dreaming, keep moving, keep believing, but most importantly, keep walking with Jesus. Because when you do, your goals turn into purpose, your struggles turn into strength, and your life turns into something bigger than you ever imagined. And that's how faith fuels your dreams. That's how Jesus takes your life and turns it into something extraordinary.